What's up and welcome in. This is your Thursday Locked on Syracuse. I'm Tyler Rocky. We're going to be back with Drew Carter today. Tim will join us as well. We're going to talk all things Syracuse football, continuing our conversation from yesterday. In case you missed that, check out yesterday's show where we dive into some stuff with Garrett Schrader and the rest of the Syracuse offense. A huge story heading into Syracuse's spring game. Today, we're going to get into some of the other pieces as well. And also just Drew going back to Syracuse again and the reception that he got the first time. It was really cool to see the first time around. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's get into it. Part 2 with Drew Carter.
Are Locked on Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Let's transition a little bit. What other storylines are you interested in, position battles that you've got your eye on as we get into the spring game here?
Well, I'm excited that the team finally has a special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
Took them long enough, right?
Yeah.
This is a classic. We don't hand out dollar bills for saying thank you to grandma and grandpa. Like this is just like what is it took long enough. You saw all the special teams errors this team had last year. And the last couple of years.
Are you secretly from the South? Because that was a very Southern saying you just dropped. I've never heard that.
That had some coward in it.
That's the Hoppy in me. I was on the phone with Jonathan Hoppy last week. That's what that was.
That's good. I like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they basically like spilled milk last year, and now they've cleaned it up, and you're not going to give them credit for spilling milk in the first place. So they had something to fix. But you got to give them credit. This guy, Bob Legashevsky, it seems like they got a pretty good one. Comes over from Bowling Green after a year. Their kicker there, Nate Needham, was 95% on field goals last year, playing in Northeast Ohio, where I've never been to Bowling Green's football stadium, but apparently the wind is like insane. It's swirling. It's like a Heinz Field in college.
He coached it for the Steelers too.
That's right. Yeah, won a Super Bowl with them, which is interesting because I'm doing this spring game with Barrett Brooks, who won the 05 Super Bowl with the Steelers. And then Legashevsky was there for the 08 Super Bowl win. So if there are any Steelers fans there, they're just loving this, talking about all their Super Bowls, 2 and 4 years. But I bring up Needham because you hope that this guy Legashevsky can help Schmidt get back to Andre Schmidt that we saw when we were in college, when he was the Lou Groza Award winner in 18. And I thought Schmidt's tweet was interesting where he said, I'm hoping to walk off the way I walked on, because he was a walk-on in 18 and was the best kicker in the country. And last year he was 9 of 14. It was kind of bizarre. I saw him fortunately make a field goal to beat Liberty at the end. But aside from that, he wasn't really the Schmidt that we were expecting. So maybe Legashevsky can help him kind of return to that form. But really, I mean, the reason you bring in the special teams coordinator is not for the kicking game. As fun of a story as that is, it's more about cleaning up the mistakes on the punt unit and on the kickoff unit, which, as Syracuse fans know, they could use some help with. So we're not going to really see that too much in the spring game. I don't think we won't get answers on that, but I think that is a big storyline, is how does the third phase of the game look for Syracuse this year?
So I've been told by someone that played for Legashevsky, like you walk in there with zero questions and that man will talk your ear off. Are you meeting with Legashevsky?
I don't think so, but I could request it.
All right, I would, because he seems like an electric character, and I would definitely put that on the to-do list there. In terms of just the offense as a whole here, I mean, the offensive line, we can talk about Schrader, DeVito all we want from last year, but at the end of the day, the root cause of some of their problems was the fact that the offensive line is what it has been the last, 3 years now?
Yeah.
And you're not going to get better unless you improve that unit. Where is the optimism for you that this offensive line is going to be better in 2022?
Well, there's, again, nowhere to go but up, I would say. That could kind of be like the sub-headline for Syracuse football entering this year. Syracuse football 2022, there's nowhere to go but up, at least from an offensive perspective. Because like we said, the defense was great. And I think that's why we haven't really spent much time talking about the defense, is because you kind of know what you're getting. hopefully. I mean, the defensive line is a bit of a mystery, but
yeah,
offensively, I think, and you guys can help me out with my prep here for the game. 7 offensive line combinations last year. Does that sound right?
that sounds right. Yeah.
Between injuries and everything, yeah.
Yeah, which was third most in FBS. I saw that in some articles, so I should probably fact check it. If it was Nate Mink, though, it's spot on. He never gets anything wrong. But yeah, I think it's just, I guess the hope would be that injuries are random for the most part, and continuity should be big for this group. So not necessarily continuity in terms of who you're bringing back, although I think they do bring back all 5 starters or they're missing one guy's service, but 4 or 5 starters from like their opening day offensive line last year. So continuity in that sense, plus just if they could get continuity within the season with just fewer injuries and, COVID hopefully being less of an issue this year than it was last year, I think that's where the hope comes from. But again, like, it's hard to see them being worse than they were last year. And that's another, I don't know, it's not like good for Schrader in air quotes, but I think it's just another defense of him for why he wasn't very good throwing the ball last year.
Yeah, I mean, it gives me another reason to defend Garrett Schrader, which we've done a lot on this podcast already. But I do think, we saw DeVito under this offensive line, and it didn't really work. And I think that was largely because of the offensive line. You threw in Schrader, which at the time seemed like sort of a head-scratching decision right before the Liberty game. I remember when you were on the podcast last, we were like, I don't see Garrett Schrader as the answer. And he turned out to be the right decision just based on what they had in front of them, which was a bad offensive line. What about the wide receiver position to you? Is there anyone that you feel like can step up in that regard? Because it feels like every year we kind of do this where there's 1 or 2 names. I think when we were at school, Tyler and I used to joke that Courtney Jackson was always the spring standout, and it really hasn't come to fruition. Damian Alford last year felt like a breakout guy. There's some good talk and chatter this year about Aronde Gadsden, Amari Hatcher, guys like that. But someone's got to step up. Someone's got to be a number 1 receiver without Taj.
Right. Especially if Syracuse is going to look anything like what Virginia looked like last year, if they want to throw it. And you got to imagine they want to throw it more than they did last year, if not Virginia levels. I really don't know, guys. I mean, that is the huge question mark, I think, for this offense. The offensive line was not good last year, but if they stay healthy, we kind of know who we're going to see on the front 5. Wide receivers, total question mark. And we don't even know how many receivers they're going to want to put out there for the most part. Virginia last year was pretty heavy RPO. I think they used their tight ends a decent amount. They've got a tight end right now who's like shooting up draft boards right now, which Syracuse, that has not happened to them in a long time. So you don't really know like what we're going to see from a personnel standpoint even. So that's the big question mark. And I think that's a huge reason why people want to tune into the spring game. Not to like do a shameless plug here, but they will run the ones with the ones on offense. And so whenever Schrader and Tucker are out there, like it's going to be fascinating to see who lines up a wide receiver because we really have no idea. Like, could Pena play more offensively? Who knows? Could Alford be more than like the occasional once every month deep threat? Who knows? Like, we really don't know. And that's going to be a big talking point with the coaches this week is just try to figure out who's impressed them.
We'll get back to Drew in just a sec, but our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because you just didn't have time to get everything you need to have a great diet. You need more energy and optimized immune system. So that's why I went to AG1. What is this stuff? With 1 delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamin minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of the things that you need to live a happy and healthy life. It's lifestyle friendly as well, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness, and it's one of the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. Plus, it costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health. It's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Right now, it's your time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/college. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/college to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Also, hey, I don't think anybody had this Final Four. I think I saw there's like less than 1% of people had this Final Four. And if you haven't checked out Stat Hero, you're losing out because like everyone else, you don't have the perfect Final Four right now, but Stat Hero's NCAA single game pick'ems pits the star players against each other in an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Take control back from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage and start focusing on the players you know best with gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. Stat Hero is the easiest and fastest way to get your sports action fix. The simple and sleek gameplay will have you playing in minutes. This is what daily fantasy was meant to be. So sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon and use promo code lockedon for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code lockedon for a 100% deposit match. Stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code lockedon. Terms and conditions apply.
You know what's funny is remember when we were in school and every single year it was, geez, which receiver is going to be the All-American this year?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Steve Ishmael? Is it going to be Jamal Custis? And obviously it all got sparked from Amba Atawo. Like,
yeah.
And now it's like, who's going to lead this team? Like, who's going to catch passes this year? It just shows you like the difference in the offense from when Dino got there to where it is now. You would have never thought 5-6 years ago this would be a group that's been led by defense really the past handful of seasons.
Ishmael was the one that stuck out to me because we really didn't know going into that year who the number one receiver would be. And then Ishmael was like, he was all ACC, I think, that year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
he was phenomenal. And you're right. I mean, when Dino first got there and when things were clicking, they always had a number one guy. And it is a complete 180 this year, but who knows, man? Maybe a Rondé Gadsden comes out and he puts up 1,510 touchdowns. Pick him up. Who knows? I hate to, I know I'm supposed to be like, a little bit insider here because, I'm doing the spring game, but I am in the dark as much as anyone when it comes to the receiver core, which is why it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. I remember when we used to write for Orange Fizz way back in our school days. I remember I wrote an article, maybe it was 2017 or 2018, like Syracuse should be wide receiver U. They should lean in on wide receivers. And now, I mean, gosh, it feels like they can't even get anyone to come and produce at the wide receiver position. They've recruited decent there, but I always thought, all right, we got to get to the level where Syracuse is pulling in some 4-stars. Maybe that's a position we can target. Now it feels like defensive back has become that position.
Who do you guys think at wide receiver? If you guys were betting men, who would be the favorite to like lead this team?
And we are. We are. Geez, is this the year Quealy breaks out? It
feels like his ceiling isn't that high, but he's got the highest floor of anyone when we're talking about Quealy. Like he's probably going to be right up there at the top statistically.
I don't know. I mean, I really liked Damian Alford last year. I thought he, like, in terms of like a physical guy on the outside, you can kind of put him wherever too. I liked what I saw out of him. And he obviously had the big play at the end of the year. What was that? Virginia Tech. And in that win, he had the big play catching the bomb there. But I'm with you. Like, it's tough to even make a pick. Like if you were to line these guys up and put odds next to their names of who's going to lead this team in receiving, like they're probably all pretty similar odds right now. You'll obviously have a few long shots here and there, but I mean, would it be even surprising if a guy like Sean Tucker ends up leading this team in receiving just from catching screen passes and then doing his thing on the outside?
Yeah. Kyle, turn the camera on. I'll plant my flag on Pena. I think Pena's got a chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because
he was hurt last year. He's good, I think.
Yeah.
healthy.
He's dynamic. You saw it on kick returns. We talked about Ligashevsky with special teams. I think if Pena houses a couple, maybe one kick, one punt return, he's going to become a name in the ACC. And on offense, I mean, the opportunity is there. And is anyone more dynamic than he is with the ball in his hands? And just based on what we saw with Keaton Thompson at Virginia last year and Wicks, and they had a lot of weapons, I think Pena could be the guy. So there it is. There's your social media breakout.
Yeah, clip that up.
Clip that.
Get that ready to go.
So yeah, save it for November when Trevor Pena is like third in the ACC in receiving. Go ahead and blast that.
Is it weird to you? Like this is a laws of football question for you here. Can a guy who wears number 29 lead your team in receiving? Feels wrong. Feels slimy. I don't know. I'm not behind that.
He might have to change numbers. Hey, speaking of number change, guys.
You got a good one for us?
Yeah, Garrett Schrader is wearing 6 this year. You guys know that?
Really? Didn't know that.
Number change. Yeah. I mean, I feel like no one knows that because, like, what kind of psycho is sitting there refreshing the Cuse.com football roster? It's just play-by-play guys. But Schrader is down to 6, and so I asked Tyler, the SID, and he let me know that 6 is his preferred number. Schrader has worn it his entire life, but you have to earn the single digits, at least for offensive guys. I mean, they had some single-digit linebackers last year, like Steph Thompson as a freshman was wearing it. Mikel Jones was wearing 2. But offensively, all the skill guys want the single digit, and so those are kind of prestigious. You got to earn it. So I guess that's a good sign for Syracuse that Garrett Schrader has earned his single digit. Yeah. So another feather in the cap for the Schrader camp. Suck it, Tyler.
Well, if we're dropping dark horse names here, how about Laquint Allen? There's been some buzz on him at running back. It feels like it's definitely Juwan Price, it's Sean Tucker there, but Dino was like raving about Laquint Allen in his last presser. And as we know, Dino does not single out guys ever, really, in any sort of press conference setting. He's usually very by the book, very generic, but he was quick to kind of point out that he's been making some plays out there.
Yeah, they're really excited about the running back room. I think that's, if you had to pick one strength on the team, it would be the running backs. And it's not just because of Tucker. There's a lot of depth there. So, I mean, I'm glad you bring that up, Tim, because maybe the answer at receiver is you split out one of those running backs because they're not going to play a ton over Tucker, but you don't want to just let talent sit there on the bench when you don't have a ton to begin with, right? Offensively, I mean, we're talking about 3-star guys here. So maybe that's the answer is you use the running backs in more of a wide receiver role. And again, the guys at Virginia proved to be pretty creative with how they use their football players. Not everyone fits in a box. So maybe that could be the key.
So speaking of some of these Swiss Army knife and other pass catchers here, you brought up the tight ends a little bit earlier, and Dino was talking about the pass catching of the tight ends, and he's like, "Oh, like we've seen it." And Tim and I were kind of like, "We have seen Chris Elmore catch balls consistently. We have seen Stephen Mahar. We have seen Max Mag." Now, I think a couple of those guys that they use as tight ends are absolute beasts in terms of blocking and setting edges for guys like Sean Tucker. Like I remember a couple plays that Max Mang had last year where I was like, that was badass. Yeah. I'm clipping that up. I'm throwing that on Twitter because that was awesome. But in terms of tight end involvement, how involved, like, are we going to see the tight ends catch 30 balls this year?
For setting the over-under?
Like, I'm setting you 29.5 tight ends as a collective. Like, is Brent Axe going to be happy?
Brent Axe, God. If there are any Syracuse local media members we've missed on this pod, I'm sorry. Because we've had Bailey,
really?
Axe. Shout out Stephen Fonte and Mario Sacco over at News Channel 9.
This isn't football, Stephen.
Just so you know, Stephen. Okay. Over under, I would probably take the over just because we don't really know who's catching passes at all. So I think it's a decent dart throw if you're just taking a flyer on maybe the tight ends start to figure it out. But I think really you want to look at it from a scheme perspective. Like are Anai and Beck going to try to involve the tight ends? And even that is a bit of a question mark because I mentioned the tight end at Virginia. Jelani Woods is his name, and he's showing out at Pro Day right now. Like I saw some guy tweet he's got the best like Spark score or whatever those like nerdy percentiles. Yeah, he's like in the 99th percentile for his 3-cone drill and vertical leap at the tight end position. I don't even understand what any of that means, but apparently this guy Jelani Woods is like flying up draft boards, and I don't know if he was underutilized at Virginia or what. But I don't think that the tight ends are super involved in this scheme. And like you said, I heard Dino say that as well. When he was like, we know Chris Elmore can catch the football. I'm like, is this guy watching the same dude I am? Because because you put Chris Elmore at offensive line.
he would split Elmore out a couple times. And I'm like, you're playing 10 on 11 offense at that point, brother. And one of them's the quarterback. So you're really playing 9 on 11 offense out there.
Dude, we had a friend in college, Zach Lang, who was like adamant that Chris Elmore should be the RB1 for this team. I'm like, dude, he's 300 pounds. You cannot make him
great,
but he earned that
player,
single digit.
But...
He earned that single digit. That's why he wears number 5.
Yeah,
that's right. It's slimming for him, so he's going to look like a real pass catcher. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe Mahar. I mean, again, it's the pass catchers are such a mystery. That's why watching this spring game is going to be exciting. And I think they're going to run over 100 plays. So we'll get a look at a bunch of these dudes. But Dino seems to believe that Mang and Elmore and Mahar can catch the ball. Now it's a matter of seeing it. And you might on ACC Network Friday night.
We'll wrap things up with Drew in just a sec, but hey, this is the time of year I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year because I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. And have you tried the Puffs? Because if you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. All Built Bars are covered in 100% chocolate. Yes, that includes the Puffs as well. 100% real chocolate. Low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They're better for you and they're better tasting as well. A typical candy bar can be anywhere between 200 to 300 calories, but most Built Bars are just 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and the best part of it all, 17 grams of protein. Mint brownie, coconut almond, whatever you like, they've got it at Built Bar. And new this month, the white chocolate cookies and cream. They're all delicious, and they've got new flavors coming out all the time. So Built Bar is all about taste. They make it taste delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy after. So go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com.
Well, that's what I want to ask you, actually. And I know we joked about this, like, oh, it's actually a spring game. We have no idea. This is a total foreign concept to Syracuse. But I'm actually just genuinely sort of curious what is going to happen in this spring game. And from watching Georgia Tech, it seemed like there were some drills, there were some competitive plays. Like, from your understanding, is Garrett Schrader going to get hit? Is it going to be as competitive as some people are hoping, or is it going to be a little scaled down? What do you think is going to be the gist of the game itself?
Well, everyone is different. And Tim, I watched the Georgia Tech spring game too, really just to try to get a feel of what Syracuse might do.
Yeah.
So here's what we know. Syracuse usually does 3 scrimmages in the spring. As we talked about, they're always closed. And then, Dino and the players will talk with the media, but you really don't see a whole lot.
You get that montage, which we always joke about on the podcast. It's like you got to freeze frame and be like, oh, is that Aronde Gatson in the corner there with the one-handed
grab? Is that a 7 or a 9 on that guy's jersey? Like,
yeah.
Is that Justin Lamson spinning it? Ooh, is that a 35-yard pass right there? Yeah. So I think we will get a little bit more than we ever have, really, under Dino, which makes sense. I mean, it's on TV. It's kind of a standalone spot for the Orange, so that'll be fun. I think we'll see 100-plus plays on offense versus defense. I took some notes after talking with the SID yesterday. 100-plus plays or so. The ones will be out there. I'm not sure if they'll do 1 versus 2, offense versus defense, or if they'll do 1 versus 1. I have a feeling that they will do best on best, which will be exciting to see the starters on both sides. But maybe not. I mean, again, it is hope season, and if you want to give people hope, you can say, hey, look how good our starters looked, and then you don't mention that they were playing against the third stringers on the other side, and you can do that for both units. But we'll see. I mean, I think we probably won't see Schrader or Tucker really get touched, which is a good thing. I mean, no reason to put those guys in harm's way because you kind of know what you have with those two. I mean, Schrader less so than Tucker, but still, like Schrader. Yeah, Schrader is, and that brings up another point, which Schrader is locked in as the starter. I don't know if people have talked about like maybe Valari challenging him because he is a Michigan transfer. That is not a thing, at least as of now. Like Schrader is pretty obviously entrenched as number one. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll see fairly structured game action. They're not going to keep score. But aside from that, yeah, you'll get a chance to see a little bit, at least offensively and defensively. I hope. But again, like everyone is different with the spring game. I don't even really know, like from a broadcast perspective. Like I know Jeff Collins was on headset when they were running through drills at Georgia Tech. I don't think Dino will be. I think he'll come over at some point. The coordinators won't do in-game interviews because they'll be calling plays, which gives me hope that they'll actually run some stuff. So we'll see.
What do you guys have planned for, like, what's your setup looking like? Are you guys on the field for this, or are you guys in a booth?
Yeah, we're on the field. We thought that being in the booth would be kind of weird. Like, why pretend that it's a real game when everyone knows what's happening here? It's just kind of a scrimmage with some drills. So we'll be on the field. Scott Hecht, the director of Syracuse Athletics, productions, he'll be in his bag. We've already talked a decent amount. Scott's coming to the table with some ideas. Kristen Hennessy as well. So we're going to be in casual gear, hopefully getting some ACC Network swag delivered here.
Nice.
And then we'll be on the field. We might be in like director's chairs or something for the open, but we'll be down there. We'll be in the trenches. And maybe I can get some like inside intel on what Anai is dialing up. And I won't leak it though. I won't leak it because, that program, no leaks.
Right.
They keep it
ironclad. Yep.
They keep it airtight. Yeah.
Well, last question before you get out of here. Where are you going for the return trip food-wise in Syracuse? What's the spots that you got to hit when you return?
Well, I've got some itinerary planned out. So driving up Thursday, immediately going to a la mode.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the voice of the Orange, Matt Park, isn't too busy for me and I can grab like a soup and salad with him. Thursday night, planning to hit Dino.
Nice.
There you go.
Have to. I spent 2 years in the South, guys, and did not find barbecue as good as Dino. So got to go there. Might be going with Evan Stockton, who is
that's right.
one of the play-by-play guys for the Syracuse.
Back in Syracuse, yeah.
Yep, another classmate of ours. And then, so Saturday is my anniversary with my girlfriend, Marina.
Wow.
And where else would you want to spend it than in Syracuse, New York, right?
That's right.
Possibilities?
She's like excited. You know it, dude. You know it's possibilities. I mean, that's a layup. But I will say this. I am going to force us to do the early bird special at Possibilities for two reasons. Number one, it's a Saturday. So, I mean, if you like NASCAR for the crashes, go to Possibilities on a Saturday. You know what I mean? So there's
it's like
that.
Wegmans on Super Bowl Sunday. It's a mob scene.
That's right. So Possibilities, we got to go early for that reason. And Duke and Carolina are playing at 8:49 Eastern.
That's right.
On Saturday. So if we miss the first half of Kansas Nova, I'm okay with that. Justin Moore's not even playing. I'm fine. I don't really need to see that. Mm-hmm. But Duke Carolina, I got to see that. So we'll be out of there. I'll be whisking her out of Possibilities at like 7:30. So
what's the oil there? The tomato oil. I mean, good luck. Good luck prying her away from that, because that's not going to be easy.
I think we'll be walking out with a couple jars of that stuff. They do sell it. Or maybe I'll go to Wegmans for some of it.
Real quick, actually, I got one more for you before we get out of here. When you went back for that Liberty game, I mean, that was really cool to see all the stuff that they did for you between you speaking to the students and you saw, I mean, there was the signs to welcome back Drew Carter, but what was that whole experience like, the little homecoming for you?
Yeah, it was unreal, man. That was the first time I had been back on campus since we graduated. So it was wild. I mean, it was emotional and it was weird because I had to separate work from play at a certain point. Like, I did get to speak with students, which was awesome. That was game day. But after that, I was walking out of Newhouse and I was kind of like, all right, like, it's time to lock in. Like, I have a job to do here. And it was kind of a big spot because it's like a big game. It might have been the biggest game I called last year. Probably their best win of the season, right? So, it was really cool. And I mean, obviously so weird and surreal to talk with students because, I mean, the three of us sat together in
those,
in chats like that 3 years ago. So I don't know. It's weird. I hope I like made sense when I was talking to the students and gave them some useful advice, because that's why Syracuse is so great. Is because people are willing to come back and everybody loves it. Like when we were there, I mean, we had DA come back and talk. I remember that one. We had Dave O'Brien, Dave Pash, Benetti came back. Like to be able to do that and at least try to give back is pretty freaking cool. So that was, I would say that was the highlight, even like beyond the game, is realizing that you can have an impact on people who are in your shoes where you were just a few years ago.
Yeah. All right, Drew. Well, this was awesome as always. We appreciate you hopping back on with us. Always fun. I think we kept the inside jokes to as minimum as we could. Probably too many in there, but best of luck. Friday we'll be watching 7 p.m. I think is the start Friday, right?
7 p.m. Gates open at 6 and tickets are free, but don't get tickets. Watch it on ACC Network. Right. Don't go to the game. Just kidding. Our broadcast will be on the Jumbotron. Don't come after me, Wild Hack. Go to the game. It'll be fun.
All right. Well, thanks for hopping on, Drew, and hopefully we can catch up down the road.
Love it. Thanks, guys.
All right, awesome stuff with Drew Carter. Tomorrow on the show, we will be back to get into the transfer portal and additions and subtractions. Everything's going on right now because the latest news coming across the wire is that Frank Anselem on his way out. He is hitting the transfer portal, and Tim and I will discuss how big of a blow this is, and now what does Syracuse have to do to replace a guy like Frank Anselem? And also, we'll have a Judah Mintz decision by tomorrow as well. So be on the lookout for that, and we will discuss it all on tomorrow's show as well. So for Tim, I'm Tyler.